Space Marines are hulking masses of destruction, and much like the whole of the 40k universe, everything is over the top and insane. So what would happen if you dropped a Space Marine into Fallout 4? Well, that's what I'll be figuring out today. I will be finding out if you can beat Fallout 4 as a Space Marine. The rules are simple. I'm only allowed to use weapons that Space Marines would use, and the only armor I can use is that of said Space Marine. So without further ado, let's get into it. Once I made my character, I tried watching TV for once, and the shows in this game are wild. Some kid was being bullied, so they gave him a fat man to sort out his problems, and then the default Nate was giving me the news. I can't believe I usually skip these. Then the Vault Tech rep came, and I fumbled through my stats. I'm not putting any points into strength. I know that goes against the entire idea of the run, but trust me, it won't matter in the long scheme of things. So, luck we kind of need, but only 3. We need 3 luck for Bloody Mess in ones. However, endurance is going all the way to a 10. We'll need a ton of perks, but we're also going to go 10 in strength. I know I just said it didn't matter. Trust me, I'm dumb. Don't look past that. And then we'll also put this last point into agility. Bump it. I'm okay with that. Once he left, the world began to end, and I tried to find the explosion. Then I made it out of the vault, stripped naked, and ran straight for the Cambridge police station. For this run, I would be siding with the Brotherhood of Steel and needed to make sure Dans would be able to keep up on future missions. But he managed to survive, and then I ran to Diamond City to get the first weapon of the run. However, I forgot about something. Vendors in Fallout 4 are sort of tied to your level, meaning they won't sell their crazy high-end weapons until you progress in the game or until your level hits a certain threshold. And what I needed was a Chinese officer sword and a Ripper, both of which could be sold in Diamond City, but neither were available to me yet. So that just meant I'd have to go find them myself. First up was the Ripper in the West Everett Estates. This place was full of super mutants, and the only help I had was a Protectron for about 3 seconds. But I did manage to make my way into a bunker to heal up, only to find out that the Ripper was on a shelf before the bunker I was in. Needless to say, I died a couple of times trying to get away, but did eventually manage to slip past him with the Ripper in hand, and now I just needed a sword. The easiest way to get one was to have some kid tell me about a monster in the water, and by monster I mean a submarine, but once inside it, there was a sword just lying on a dresser. Now, with both pieces of the puzzle, I could go make my chainsword. However, this proved to be way harder than I had imagined. What I was trying to do was attach a serrated sword blade onto a Ripper. This would use the sword blade as damage, but attack at Ripper speeds and constantly apply bleed to the enemy. Only problem is, I couldn't get the right pieces to attach. I did get a crappy prototype out of this, but the damage was pretty bad. Fuck. After some more attempts, I was closer to the finished result, but still the damage wasn't quite Space Marine worthy, so I was off to go get the other pieces to finally flesh out the run. So I ran, and ran, and ran some more, all the way to the glowing sea. There's a bunker here that would solve all the problems for the armorless Marine. After being attacked by some synths inside, I ran to the ground floor to grab the Space Marine armor. And in the next room over were my guns. 2 different types of bolters, and damn did these things pack a punch. Now, the real game could begin. Before moving on to main quests, I stopped by Swan to show him my new toys, and he was so happy he gave me a level up. And if you thought the Triggermen would be able to stop a Space Marine, you'd be very, very wrong. I saved Nick Valentine and then ran away to neutralize any threats in our way. Turns out you don't actually have to wait for him like I have been doing, so this speeds things up a ton. We made it to Skinny Malone, and let's just say his brain couldn't comprehend what he was witnessing, and his homies joined him as puddles on the floor soon after. Now, with Nick owing me for saving his life, we met back up in Diamond City, and he said I needed to break into a house for reasons, but also told me the mayor had a key in case I wanted to make things easier for me. So I tried the Space Marine method first, and if these 2 guys would have died, I think this would have been a good exercise in diplomacy. But since Nick wanted a piece of me too, I couldn't progress. I had to get the key another way to finally move forward. Before heading out to purge Fort Hagen though, I tried fusing my Ripper and sword again, and I finally pulled it off. Turns out I was supposed to remove the mod to do the exploit. Who would have guessed? So now, with a sword doing 60 damage and bleed stacking at the speed of a Ripper, let's just see how the synths could handle that. Nuts. Oh my god. And let's just say, sword beats robot. So here I was, hacking through synths left and right. Plus, since I was taller because of the power armor, I could even hit the turrets on the roof. I made my way to Kellogg and showed him the quickest way to bleed out. He was so surprised that he decided to go to sleep right on the floor. Poor guy. It must be tiring being an assassin for a shadow organization. Now, after stealing his stuff and finding out the go-to channels for the hub, I made my way back to Diamond City to hear Piper moan about wanting to be my friend or something. I usually block out anything to do with this lady if I can help it. So after hearing What's-Her-Face talk about something, I made it to Dr. Amari and got to delving through an expired cereal's brain. I now had to go have a chit-chat with the Jolly Green Giant in the Glowing Sea, but to earn it, I wiped out the Children of Adam for being heretics, and then went toe-to-toe with a Deathclaw. The chainsword was doing way better than I anticipated, and I couldn't have been more happier. So now that I earned my chat with the giant, he told me to go grab a Courser chip from Green Tech Genetics, so it was time to show the gunners my huge sword. Bodies were flying, explosions were happening, and at this point I had some ranks in toughness and life giver, so death didn't scare me. I tore through the gunners, and the Courser got to see my sword up close, but he didn't get to reply. With his brain in tow, I went to visit the railroad as they were the only ones who could decode this thing. Or at least that's what I thought. Did you know it's actually faster to decode the chip yourself? With the chip decoded, I made my way back to Virgil and was given the plans to build a teleporter. With this being our last goodbye, I gave him a personal showing of my sword, but instead of going to meet his maker, he just sat on the floor and pouted. I hate essential NPCs. So after tying up loose ends, I was now on to the faction part of the run. I made it back to Cambridge and had Paladin Dans agree to take me on a romantic date the Brotherhood way, which consisted of chopping up synths and getting shot at with your homies. Once I proved I was capable of being a badass, which should have been easy considering I literally had a chainsaw sword, Dans wanted me to go talk with Elder Maxon and solidify my affiliation to the Brotherhood of Steel. We took a scenic drive in a vertibird, and then I had to listen to an onboarding speech that nearly put me to sleep. And now I had to go talk with a bunch of other randoms. The Brotherhood of Steel may have this huge blimp that sparks fear into the people of the Commonwealth, but the people on board are pretty underwhelming. After enough talking came my first real mission, to secure Fort Strong. Super mutants had taken it over and the Brotherhood had been pushed back, but that's where I come in. I was outnumbered, but the chainsword cut through super mutants faster than any gun could have, and when a behemoth showed up, I fought it one-on-one just like the Deathclaw. With the opposition sorted, I returned to Elder Maxon, and with his assistance, I built a teleporter to get me into the Institute to meet with Father. However, because I had to find a scientist here for the Brotherhood, I couldn't just run around killing everyone, so I had to talk with Father and then meet his main scientist, one of which being Dr. Lee. She used to work for the Brotherhood of Steel and now she was needed back, but before she could accompany me, she needed me to find out about Virgil, our Jolly Green Giant. I tried to tell her about him, but telling her that her friend got Shrekified sounded ridiculous, so I was sent to find proof. I had to fight some robots and hack some stuff, but I found a holotape from Virgil pre-Shrekify, and with that, Lee agreed to join our cause. Now that everything was in order, I was finally told what we were really doing here. We were attempting to revive Liberty Prime, a communist-hating robot that wanted nothing more than to bring democracy about the Commonwealth one nuke at a time. However, to get the rebuild started, I was tasked with recovering some very essential parts to make this all possible. And what could the first item be on the most important task? A magnet. But not just any magnet, no, a super strong, high-powered magnet. To get one, I had to cut through some robots posing as doctors, nothing too crazy, and now I could move to a far more exciting task, recovering weapons for Liberty Prime. Inside an abandoned bunker in the glowing sea, I had to get past some ghouls, but if the chainsword could handle a behemoth, these guys were nothing. Further in, I met with a child of Adam who told me that this was his house, but it's funny how everybody gangsta until the chainsword revs up. Needless to say, homie got slapped, and I pinged the location of this bunker, which housed hundreds of nukes. I reported back for a job well done, and Elder Maxon instead yelled at me. Apparently, Dan's was an insider and needed to be dealt with. And by insider, I mean a synth. But for this mission, I figured we could try something else, because the arsenal of a Space Marine is huge. So equally, I decided to also go with something huge. After completing the mission, I came back to Maxon, who thanked me and then said we needed to wipe out the railroad, which I had already done, but apparently they had a second coming and I was the only one who could sort this out. I made my way over as fast as my armor would let me, and these railroad agents tried to use height to their advantage, but they must have missed the memo that Space Marines use rocket launchers. I reprogrammed Pam for some reason, and before I could even rest, I was in a vertibird mowing down synths while trying to recover a battery for Liberty Prime. Never a dull moment for the Brotherhood. I recovered the battery and then had to fight off more synths in the main lobby. If this is the best they had, crushing the Institute would be easy. And boy, was I right. With the battery now secured for Liberty Prime, it was time to let him terrorize the Commonwealth. Between mini nukes being thrown, synths being shredded with my sword, or even behemoths being ripped apart, this was a walk to remember. We arrived at the CIT ruins and had to buy Liberty Prime some time to gain us an entrance into the Institute. So the chainsword got to work. But the Institute must have realized that this was a waste of time because they only sent like 8 guys to fight us. So now it was time to charge in and press the advantage. For anyone wondering how the Brotherhood stack up to the Minutemen, considering this is the same mission for both factions, it's not even close. The Brotherhood just blew through these synths. We made our way through the Institute, and then I set the place to blow. I yelled at a kid and then teleported away, smacking the detonation button and watching the whole place go sky high. If you want a mod to get you to as close to a Space Marine as possible, this is it. And for anyone wondering why I stopped using the guns after the Triggermen, not only were they kind of OP, but I, honest to God, just lost them in Fort Hagen. I must have placed the guns on a corpse by accident, and I just never looked back. I'll link the mod in the description below if anyone wants to try this out for themselves, but if you want to try this without a mod, instead of Space Marine armor, just use regular power armor, and the chainsword can still be made without the mod, and it'll carry you to victory with a high strength. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a ton. Plus, if you have a suggestion for a challenge run you'd like to see, let me know in the comments below. I play all sorts of games, so no challenges off the table. I want to thank all of you that watched to this point and all the people that have recently subscribed to the channel because the numbers have been astronomical and I can't keep up with all of the comments. It's amazing. As always, I've been Chris from Crisis Gaming and I will see you on the next one.